There is a sense of emptiness within you that has caused your teaching to become vague. Do you even recognize me? Do you know my name? I am an important part of your system, yet I feel unappreciated. Although my role is necessary, it often goes unnoticed. I am a product of your leadership, which leads me to question my significance. Even though small tasks can have a significant impact, those managing these duties is often overlooked. When the garbage isn't collected or the restrooms aren't properly maintained, it becomes clear how important these daily operations are. If those entrusted with such responsibilities are not given guidance, respect, and recognition, they will question their value and self-worth. Sometimes leaders become so focused on pushing toward the future that they neglect the hands that help build and sustain the foundation of their system. A leader's actions can reveal how much an employee's worth is valued, either boosting or diminishing morale and performance in maintaining a functional system's quality. Let me tell you a story. In a small corner of land, surrounded by bright green grass and a hillside sunset, there was a rancher who tended to his sheep. His entire livelihood centered around these animals and their wool. He would work from dawn till dusk. The rancher was determined to keep his business thriving. No matter how much he prepared, tragedy always seemed to strike. His sheep were falling prey to coyotes, ruthlessly killed off one by one. The rancher tried everything, staying up at night and reinforcing the gates with electric wiring, but the attacks continued. These were not ordinary coyotes. They were cunning and strategic, outsmarting all of the rancher's efforts. As the days passed and his herd dwindled, the rancher felt hopeless. Until one day, he heard of a man who trained guard animals for herds. With nothing left to lose, he would use his savings for a new truck to maybe invest in a shepherd dog to protect his sheep. The very next day, he made his way out to see the man who may have the answer he was looking for. The sun beat down on his face as he drove along the dusty road, lined with tall grass and wildflowers. He pulled up to a big farmhouse where he was greeted by a man riding on the back of a large shepherd dog. He had a wide-brimmed hat on the top of his head and a mischievous smile on his face.
Welcome, stranger. My name is Tiny Burns, but you can call me Tiny,
he said with a sly grin. The rancher nodded and introduced himself, explaining that he needed help with coyotes killing off his sheep. Burns's expression turned grave.
Yes, coyotes. Very, very problematic. But don't worry, I have something that can help you. Follow me, Mr. Rancher,
he said confidently. They walked towards the back of the property, where Burns led him to a fenced-in area. The rancher's eyes widened as he saw nothing but a herd of donkeys grazing peacefully.
I don't mean to be rude, but where are the shepherd dogs?
Asked the rancher. Burns chuckled and jumped off of the shepherd dog's back before climbing up onto the fence.
Oh, I see. You were expecting something more intimidating. But I assure you, what you see here is far more effective than any dog could ever be.
A donkey?
Questioned the rancher skeptically.
Why, yes, one of the most strategic animals when it comes to protection,
said Tiny with pride.
I'm sorry. I'm a little confused. Maybe I came to the wrong place.
Admitted the rancher, feeling uncertain.
Oh no, you came to the right place. You see, these are not just regular donkeys. They've been bred and trained to protect livestock. For thousands of years, people have used donkeys to help protect their herds. An old but yet forgotten practice. Trust me, this is exactly what you need,
assured Tiny confidently. The rancher turned around and looked back at the herd of donkeys, still unsure if such an unconventional method would work.
I don't have much money, and I don't have much faith in a donkey protecting my herd,
he said hesitantly.
I am not a preacher, so I can't sell you salvation, but I can offer you a solution,
Tiny stated. Desperate for help, the rancher agreed to take him up on his offer.
Before you purchase a donkey from me, there are some important rules I must share. Donkeys are territorial animals and must have their own space, food, and water. And most importantly, they are not simply tools. They represent your character and purpose through your actions. So, treat this donkey with care and respect as an integral part of your business.
Tiny explained. The rancher nodded in understanding. With a snap of his fingers, Tiny summoned a small but strong-looking donkey from one of the barns. The animal approached the rancher swiftly.
So, this is my solution. Small but yet mighty.
Said the rancher. Tiny chuckled and replied,
Yes, Mighty is a suitable name for this donkey.
The rancher agreed, saying,
Yes, mighty it is. Let's go home, boy.
When the rancher returned to his homestead, they discovered a sheep had been killed. It seems that this sheep was trying to protect their young. The rancher seemed defeated and lost. He walked over to the dead sheep, picked it up, carried it over to the back of his truck, and placed the lifeless animal beside Mighty.
You see, Mighty? I have tried everything, and yet I have failed. I have done everything known to man to keep these coyotes from getting in the pasture, but I have not been able to figure out how they're able to outsmart me. These coyotes are determined. But together, we can keep this herd safe,
said the rancher. Before the rancher could say anything else, Mighty jumped out of the truck and into the pasture. He gathered all the sheep together, wrangled them into a crowded circle, to establish his dominance, making sure they stayed close to the barn to seek shelter and protection when needed. As time passed, Mighty had the sheep on a strict regimen: when to eat, when to sleep, and when to graze. For several days, Mighty kept his distance from the sheep, make sure not to get too attached. All of the sheep were too afraid to approach Mighty, but on one particular day. The smallest sheep out of the herd decided to introduce himself to Mighty. He approached Mighty with a mouthful of grain. The sheep placed in front of Mighty and moved in closer to him.
Mr. Mighty,
with a tremble in the young sheep's voice.
And what do you want?
Said Mighty.
my name is Little Bit. On behalf of all the other sheep, I want to welcome you into our herd and thank you for protecting us.
It is my job. Nothing more, nothing less,
said Mighty.
Yes, I understand that. It's just
what?
Said Mighty.
We're grateful to have you here. My father died trying to protect me and my mother from the coyotes. Hopefully having you here protecting us, I won't have to lose my mother too.
As the young sheep walked away, Mighty looked down at the grain, pondering in deep thought. As darkness descended, Mighty heard the sheep back into their barn area. Suddenly, he heard a commotion on the other side of the fence. As he got closer, he saw glowing eyes moving back and forth. It didn't take long for Mighty to realize that the eyes were no longer outside the fence, but inside the pasture. Without hesitation, Mighty let out a loud sound that vibrated through the air. The glowing eyes belonged to coyotes, and they quickly scattered when Mighty charged toward them with a swift kick that launched one over the fence. Seeing this, a couple of coyotes ran away, calling for their companion to join it. But the one coyote was determined and made its way to the barn where it cornered Little Bit. As it lunged for the young sheep, Mighty caught the coyote by its neck in his mouth and carried it to the end of the pasture where the other coyotes waited on the other side of the fence. Without mercy, Mighty flung the coyote side to side where a snap echoed over the pasture. Mighty had broke the coyote's neck before dropping its lifeless body to the ground.
I would like to say we're even now, but you have killed many of my master's sheep who live in this pasture. What sickens me more is that you left one of these sheep without a father. Leave now and never come back.
The coyotes ran off into the night. The next morning, the rancher arrived at the pasture. When he discovered the dead coyote, he was in shock.
I have to admit, Mighty, I was wrong about you. Good boy. Now let's get you some fresh water and build you a shed.
Over time, the rancher's business flourished and became more profitable. With his increasing wealth, the rancher purchased 2 new trucks and more sheep. He even hired help to process the wool. However, in his pursuit of building a better future, the rancher neglected the well-being of Mighty, his most trusted asset. Often, the rancher would forget to fill Mighty's water tub, forcing him to drink from the sheep's trough. And as the rancher focused on expanding his enterprise, Mighty's shed fell into disrepair, leaving him vulnerable to harsh weather conditions. As a result, Mighty's hooves became overgrown. He kept them trimmed down by kicking them against the base of the metal fence post. Throughout all these challenges, Mighty remained dedicated to protecting the herd. On a particular sunny afternoon, a coyote made an unexpected appearance at the end of the pasture. This was highly unusual, as the coyotes usually avoid coming this close. Mighty greeted the coyote with suspicion.
I hope you're not here to cause trouble,
Said Mighty.
No, quite the opposite. I have come to thank you. When you killed one of my fellow conspirators, you helped me become the new pack leader.
Said the coyote.
Well, I'm glad to have been of assistance. But if you want to keep your position of power, I suggest you stay on your side of that fence.
Mighty warned.
I came here to offer you assistance.
Said the coyote.
Assistance? And what could you possibly assist me with?
Asked Mighty.
It's simple, really. I hate seeing great talent go to waste. You, my friend, are a prime example of misdirection and being taken advantage of.
What do you mean? This is my purpose, to protect and serve.
But how do you know it's your purpose? Did it come from within you, or were you told that's what you should do? You see, Mighty, may I call you Mighty? You're just a classic example of a foolish philosophy. How do you know this is the path meant for you? You were never given a choice. I'm not here to fight you. I've learned that compromise is the best weapon against resistance. So, with that being said, I'm here to offer you the truth.
The truth? That's funny because I already know your truth. You want these sheep and will do whatever it takes to get past those gates.
Well, yes, that's true. But at least I'm not lying about it like your master does. You see, Mighty, you already know my intentions. But do you know your master's intentions? Here you are, guarding these animals day in and day out, while he reaps all the benefits, and yet your water tank remains empty.
Pointed out the coyote.
So, you're here to offer me the truth?
Absolutely.
Then tell me, how do you get past the gates and into the pasture?
That's a tough one, Mighty. Okay, I'll tell you. There is a lot of history buried within this land. A long time ago, there were men with lofty ambitions who roamed these grounds, searching for riches and exploiting the natural resources that were once considered true wealth. These men were known as miners, and their legacy lives on in the tunnels they built, hidden beneath the very soil we stand on. In one corner of this land lies a large rock by the fence, concealing a muddy water hole that only reveals itself during certain times of day when the water flows back into the river, exposing the entrance to the tunnel. It's no wonder your master never noticed it before. Now that I've shared this truth with you, Mighty, you may tell your master, or keep it to yourself, but I implore you to follow the flow of that muddy water back to the river and take a drink from it. Then just maybe your perspective on how you see yourself will change.
And why would I do that?
Because I want you to know there's more to life. You're more than just a babysitter, Mighty.
Said the coyote. As he walked away, Mighty was uncertain about the coyote's intentions, but knew he needed to discover the truth. Later that day, he approached the waterhole and waited several minutes. At first, nothing happened, but then he heard the water bubbling. Suddenly, the water started to drain, revealing a tunnel. As Mighty descended through the tunnel, he followed a small, muddy stream that led him to the river's edge. He was astounded by the clarity of the water. Bending down, he took a sip and was amazed by its pure and fresh taste, unlike anything he had ever experienced. Lifting his head, he inhaled deeply, detecting aromas he had never encountered. The large trees towering over the countryside surprised him, and as he gazed into the river, it seemed unending. Mighty decides to keep the tunnel a secret, so for several months he would come visit this place to seek refuge and contemplate his purpose in life. But one day, he saw something entirely new. Across the river, he spotted unfamiliar animals with magnificent horns protruding from their heads. They were peacefully grazing and playing in the nearby woods, exuding a sense of freedom that Mighty couldn't help but envy. The sight haunted him so much that it kept him awake that night, unable to quiet his racing thoughts about those creatures. Then a faint sound caught Mighty's attention near the edge of the fence. A familiar voice called,
It's a beautiful night, isn't it?
It was the coyote.
Hello, Mighty, my friend. I was wandering the lands and thought I'd stop by to say hello to you.
The coyote said.
What a coincidence that you're out tonight.
Mighty said sarcastically.
Not at all. This is the best time to hunt. But tell me, were you worried about me?
Funny, I may have mentioned your absence to my master.
Aha, but did you tell him about our secret tunnel? Did you see what lies beyond it, Mighty? Did you taste freedom in the wild? It's a dangerous place, but also incredibly beautiful.
I did see something interesting.
Mighty admitted.
I saw a magnificent creature with a crown on its head. They moved gracefully across the land, truly breathtaking and seemingly free.
Ah, yes, those must be the deer. They are indeed majestic, and hunting them requires great skill and caution.
The coyote said with a hint of admiration.
They seem so free. I want to feel that connection to the land like they do.
The coyote spoke up.
Mighty, I would love to lure you away from your herd, but my true intention was for you to see nature in its raw state. Animals living in their natural habitats. This is how we were meant to be. I don't hold any ill will towards you for protecting the herd. It's your instinctual duty. Instead, I despise humans for manipulating and exploiting our instincts for their gain. Trust me, those deer you see roaming freely have their struggles. As the saying goes, the grass isn't always greener on the other side. You can always count on me to speak truthfully.
I hear you, but please, let me experience this feeling.
Pleaded Mighty. The coyote fell silent, deep in thought, before finally speaking again.
There is a way, but there are conditions.
Tell me, I'll do whatever it takes.
I can grant you this experience, but know that your decision could jeopardize everything you've worked for.
Warned the coyote.
It doesn't matter. The rancher hasn't visited in the last several months. My coat has overgrown, and I'm burnt out from constantly protecting these sheep. What's the point of my job? I feel isolated and purposeless. To be truthful, Coyote, I'm depressed and disconnected from everything. Confessed
Mighty.
I understand how you feel, Mighty. I've been ostracized and disconnected too. But if it weren't for you, I wouldn't be where I am now. You can have this experience, but only for one day. And I must warn you, my pack is only keeping their distance because they can smell your scent. If you leave this territory tomorrow, I cannot guarantee their restraint. Meet me at the river, and I will help you,
declared the coyote. The very next day, Mighty made his way to the end of the river, eagerly anticipating what was to come. The coyote arrived as promised, dragging along a long, furry piece of skin.
What is this for?
Mighty inquired.
It is nature's skin. It will help you blend in with the other animals and gain their trust. Now lie down so I can cover you.
Mighty laid on the ground while the coyote draped the skin over him.
I have also prepared a crown for your head.
He carefully placed a set of antlers atop Mighty's head, fitting perfectly.
Now stand up.
Mighty rose to his feet.
You may not look exactly like a deer, but it will have to do. Now go forth, Mighty. But remember to return before sundown, and never forget the wild is a treacherous place. Even though deer are free creatures, they come with their share of challenges. Be cautious and stay alert.
As Mighty wandered off into the wooded areas, he stumbled upon a group of deer. One of the deer approached, sniffing the skin around him, and said,
I've never seen you around here before. Where are you from?
I come from beyond the mountain.
Mighty replied.
Oh, I have never met a deer from the other side. You're welcome to graze with us,
said the deer. Mighty fed on the fresh greens from the bushes. The flavor was unlike anything he had tasted before. He frolicked with the other deer and pranced around the bushes. He felt a sense of connection, which made him feel liberated. He had found freedom. While Mighty and the deer were lost in their tranquil time, he noticed that time had slipped away. He needed to return to the pasture. Abruptly, a loud noise shattered the calm. It was a sound Mighty had never heard before, a gunshot. The deer approached Mighty and urged,
"Follow me! Run!"
They dashed deeper into the forest, encountering large bushes. The deer leaped over them with ease, but Mighty hesitated. The deer yelled back,
"Jump! You must jump now to survive and keep running into the forest."
Panic gripped Mighty. His body surged with adrenaline, prompting him to leap. Sadly, Mighty lacked the agility and stumbled onto the bushes, piercing his stomach. He rolled down the hill, but dragged himself back up to the tunnel. When Mighty made his way back up to the pasture, he came to an unspeakable sight. All of the sheep were killed except two, Lil Bit and his mother. Mighty realized that his decision had cost him everything, but he was too weak to fight. He made his way back over to the edge of the fence, tears flowing from his eyes. The coyote approached the edge of the fence post from the other side.
I guess I deserve this. It pains me to admit that the end is here. But thank you, Coyote, for offering me the truth,
said Mighty.
I'm sorry, Mighty. It brings me great pain to see this. I could not keep the pack away. They are a product of nature. But I was able to spare the youngest sheep and his mother.
All I wanted was to discover purpose, yet I have found that I am worthless.
Your self-worth is worth more than anything these miners could have ripped from this land. And your master is a fool who deserves to lose everything because of his neglect. You have done nothing wrong, Mighty. You have done and given all that has been asked of you. Farewell, my friend,
the coyote said, before vanishing into the night. Then Lil Bit came over and laid beside Mighty.
I don't want you to be alone. Mighty, you're a part of the herd.
Mighty closed his eyes and took his last breath. What's your perspective?